Ask yourself a simple question. Why do you feel tired, drained, and directionless, even though your life is not that bad? The answer is not in your circumstances. It lies in a habit that very few dare to confront. The dependency on instant pleasure, specifically excessive masturbation, constant consumption of pornography, and the unconscious need to self-gratify. It may sound harmless, but this is exactly what silently drains your energy, blurs your logic, and erodes your willpower day by day. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, once said, "The more passive a person is, the more they are controlled by base desires." We are living in an era where pleasure is just one click away. You do not need effort. You do not need to face anything. You do not need to fight. You slowly drift away from the path of achievement without even realizing it, because you think it is just a simple release, a natural routine. You just escape into a screen and reward yourself with a cheap dopamine hit. But what is the cost? You lose the hunger to master yourself. You lose sharpness. But natural does not mean right. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. Those who live by instinct will always be prisoners of it. But if you learn to resist, to control, and to rise above it, you are training a hidden power that only real men possess. Aristotle once warned, "We are what we repeatedly do." If you constantly seek easy pleasure, you are training yourself to be weak. Stay sharp. Look deeper and ask yourself, am I living like a warrior or just hiding behind the shell of a man? The game is not over. But if you do not take control, you will be controlled. And that is not how a man was born to live. If you feel stuck, this is your wake-up call. Do not scroll past. Do not act like nothing just hit you. Stop, look, and start changing. Here is a challenge for you. Write down your feelings, energy levels, and mental state. For the next 7 days, completely stop all forms of self-gratification. If you get through it, you will realize this. You were never weak. You just did not know how to protect your strength. If this message made you think, if it hit something real inside you, leave a like so I know you are still in the fight. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another video. Where we do not avoid the truth, we face it to become stronger every day. This is not just content. This is a journey to mastering your life. 1. The uncomfortable truth you need to hear. What if the very thing you turn to for relief is the same thing that is quietly destroying your strength? This is not about shame. It is about clarity. And if you are willing to listen, not just hear, but truly listen, this could be the turning point that pulls you out of the fog you have been living in. They assume that seeking momentary satisfaction is harmless, even necessary. After all, society has normalized it. Pornography is everywhere. Instant gratification is encouraged. Masturbation is joked about as if it is a natural part of the male experience that needs no second thought. Let us face it. Most men never question their relationship with pleasure. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Repeated indulgence in instant pleasure is not neutral. It has a cost. And that cost is far greater than you think. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. That is a quote from Samuel Johnson, and it should give you pause. That satisfaction does not require sacrifice. Over time, your brain becomes lazy. Your drive weakens. Your hunger to conquer, to push limits, to build fades. Because what starts as a simple release, a harmless escape, becomes a loop. A cycle, one that drains your energy, dulls your instincts, and chips away at your masculine edge. When you give your brain a reward without real effort, without purpose, you teach it something dangerous. That pleasure is free. You start trading long-term growth for short-term relief. That is not self-care. That is self-sabotage. This chemical is supposed to be a reward for real effort, for building something, protecting someone, winning a battle. solving a hard problem. But now, you are getting that same high without any real-world accomplishment. Let us look at what is really happening beneath the surface. And when even that is not enough, you fall into the black hole of numbness where nothing excites you anymore. Not real relationships, not goals, not life. Every time you indulge in artificial stimulation, whether through screens or mental fantasy, your brain releases dopamine. It is like giving a standing ovation for doing absolutely nothing. This is about your relationship with effort, discipline, and meaning. And what happens when the brain gets rewarded for doing nothing? It starts preferring nothing. Men who realized that what they thought was harmless was in fact the slow death of everything they once admired in themselves. You lose your fire. Masculinity is not about denial. It is about direction, about channeling energy, not letting it scatter. You feel tired, even when you have not done anything. You lack motivation, but cannot explain why. You try to focus, but your thoughts keep scattering. You stop chasing your goals because your brain already got the reward from your last escape. Here's where it gets more dangerous. Not just mentally, biologically, neurologically. You rewire your brain to become more focused, more resilient, more driven. Over time, the pleasure stops hitting the same. You need more intensity, more time, more extremes. You become a ghost, alive but dull, functional but empty. They knew what most modern men forget. Your attention is your power, and where your pleasure goes, your attention follows. Pleasure without purpose is poison. They were men who withheld it, mastered it, and used that energy to build something bigger than themselves. That is not from an ancient philosopher. It is from men today who have faced this beast and clawed their way back to life. This is not just about sexual energy. If you condition your brain to expect reward without effort, you are robbing yourself of the essence of masculinity, the ability to endure, to build, to conquer. Aristotle said it best. What lies in our power to do, lies in our power not to do. That is your resistance talking. That is the part of you that is afraid of losing its comfort zone. That is the difference between a man and a boy. A boy consumes. A man chooses. A boy reacts to impulse. A man directs his energy with purpose. Now let me be clear, this is not a moral lecture. This is not about guilt or shame. This is about power. Because every time you win against an urge, you grow. You are not just saying no to pleasure. You are saying yes to purpose. Think about the great men in history, the visionaries, the warriors, the inventors. They were not men who chased easy pleasure. Do you think it is a coincidence that men like Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, and even many martial artists lived with extreme discipline around their desires? So ask yourself, what are you training your brain to love? Is it ease, escape, and emptiness? Or is it growth, challenge, and greatness? The truth might sting, but the sting is the start of healing. If you are feeling a little uncomfortable right now, good. That means something real just hit you. And if you feel defensive, if your mind is trying to justify, minimize, or argue, pause. But comfort zones do not produce strong men. They produce average lives. You are not here to be average. You were born to become a man of direction, a man of discipline, a man who chooses his path rather than being led by impulse. And the first step to reclaiming that is to face this uncomfortable truth and not look away. 2. A real man does not bow to his desires. There is a difference between feeling a desire and being ruled by it. Desire is not the enemy. It is part of being human. It can drive innovation, ambition, even love. But when a man allows desire to control his choices, his time, his focus, he is no longer a man in control. He becomes a slave with the illusion of freedom. No man is free who is not a master of himself. That is not just a quote. That is a warning from Epictetus, a philosopher who understood what most men today have forgotten. You will see men who look alive, but are spiritually sedated. Their eyes are dull. Their posture is weak. Their presence is forgettable. They are addicted to quick hits dopamine from screens, sexual validation, digital fantasies, anything that keeps them numb enough to avoid facing the deeper work. True masculinity is not about how much you can get. It is about how much you can govern. Not in the sense of repression, but in the sense of redirection. A real man does not kill desire. He channels it. He uses it. Sow a character, reap a destiny. He transforms it into something greater than a fleeting moment of pleasure. But what happens when you do not? It is the one who stands still in the face of it, breathes and chooses differently. When you make a habit of giving in, you build the identity of someone who cannot resist. That identity becomes your reality. Look around. The world needs men who can feel desire rising and still choose principle over instinct. Still choose direction over distraction. Still choose to build rather than break. This is not random. It is the byproduct of surrendering to base desires again and again. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Not in avoiding the fire, but in walking through it without being burned. This principle, often attributed to Frank Outlaw, reveals the path most men are already walking without knowing it. And that is where true masculinity sits. Not in the bedroom, not in the gym mirror, not in the number of conquests, but in the daily decision to lead yourself. And the truth is, no one can escape this process. The only question is, what are you sowing? The world does not need more men who follow every impulse. This is not about suppressing your masculinity. It is about elevating it. Because the most dangerous man is not the one who explodes at every temptation. Let us be honest. No one sees it, no one applauds. But that is exactly what makes it real. You will feel the urge. You will feel the hunger. You will feel the temptation to escape, to release, to numb. But here is where power is forged. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What matters is that you get up with sharper awareness and deeper resolve. When you stop blaming the outside, the content, the women, the hormones, the culture, you begin reclaiming the throne inside. What does that look like in practice? You know when you are slipping, and you also know, deep down, when you are rising. It looks like noticing the urge and pausing before you act. Because the real enemy is not out there, it is within. And the real battle is not about avoiding temptation. It is about becoming the kind of man who can walk past it without flinching. It looks like having the strength to close the tab, turn off the screen, and do the hard thing instead. It looks like remembering your values in the heat of the moment. And it looks like understanding that one small decision today shapes the man you wake up as tomorrow. This is not glamorous, because any man can perform when eyes are watching, but only a real man can stay rooted when no one is looking. And let me be clear, this is not about becoming perfect. You will slip. You will fall. That is part of the process. That you begin to build the muscle of restraint, just like you would build strength in the gym. Reap after rep, day after day. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Lao Tzu knew this truth long before modern psychology ever did. So ask yourself right now, with brutal honesty, are you in control of your desires, or are your desires using you? Are you living as a sovereign man, or merely surviving as a puppet of pleasure? The difference is not theoretical. It shows up in your posture, in your voice, in your presence. A real man does not bow to desire. He commands it. He shapes it. He uses it as fuel, not as a leash. And when you learn to master that, you do not just gain control over one habit. You gain access to a version of yourself that most men will never meet. Do not settle for being a man who feels strong only when he is comfortable. Become the kind of man who grows stronger every time he says, "I do not need this. I choose more." That is where freedom lives. That is where purpose begins. And that is the path of the man you are meant to become. 3. Want to escape the trap? Listen carefully. If you have made it this far, it means you already sense the weight of this habit. You feel the consequences, maybe not in words, but in your energy, your drive, your clarity. Now the question is not whether it is harming you. It is a psychological cycle. A loop built on craving, reward, guilt, and repetition. It thrives in silence. It grows in secrecy. And it survives through your excuses. The hardest part of breaking free is not the physical urge. It is the mental story you have built around it. You already know it is. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? You cannot escape a trap unless you first understand how it works. This habit, the compulsive need for instant gratification, whether through masturbation or digital stimulation, is not just a bad routine. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. That was Seneca, and it applies here. You tell yourself, it is just a way to relax. It is not that big of a deal. Everyone does it. I will stop ... someday. But these are not reasons. They are rationalizations. Through understanding that every urge is an opportunity to train, not a signal to give in. These are not hacks or tricks. They are foundations. If you skip them, you fall back. If you master them, you rise. And as long as you live inside them, the habit owns you. So how do you break free? There are 3 principles tested by time, taught by the Stoics, and proven by men who have walked through this battle and come out stronger on the other side. Let us go through them. First, self-discipline is not optional. It is the doorway to freedom. You cannot defeat a habit by waiting for motivation. You win through structure, through commitment. You are choosing to invest your energy elsewhere, into your mind, your body, your goals. And each time you say no, that muscle of self-control grows. A direction, something compelling enough to make the old craving feel small, slowly, quietly. But it grows because they have no vision, because they are not building something that matters. When your days are empty, your urges become louder. Epictetus said it simply, no man is free who is not master of himself. You begin to see it for what it is, noise, static, a distraction from what actually matters. Discipline is not punishment. It is the path to strength. But when redirected, it becomes a source of intensity, creativity, and focus that few ever tap into. When you resist the urge, you are not depriving yourself. Make it specific. Attach a deadline to it. Let that goal become your replacement for the habit, not just to resist, but to redirect. And one day, without warning, you realize you are no longer the one being pulled. Many of them practiced a form of restraint, not out of guilt, but out of understanding. They knew that if they wasted their energy on momentary release, they would lose the spark they needed to build greatness. You are the one doing the pulling. One choice. One day where you say, second, you need a purpose bigger than the urge into your workouts, into your business, into learning a skill, into solving a problem that demands your full attention. Habits rooted in avoidance cannot be broken by willpower alone. You need a mission. Most men relapse into these habits not because they are weak, but because they are bored. And if you use them, they will not just help you quit a habit, they will help you rebuild your identity from the inside out. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke. When you fill your life with meaning, real meaning, you stop estimating the urge as something important. Ask yourself, What would I be working on if I was not wasting hours of my energy every week chasing pleasure? Write it down. Third, transmutation is the hidden key. Most men ignore sexual energy is real. It is powerful. And when wasted, it weakens you. This is not fantasy. It is biology. Your body produces this energy for a reason, not just for reproduction, but for life force, for vitality, for presence. Think of the great inventors, leaders, warriors throughout history. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. That was Albert Einstein. And that is what transmutation is. You take that restless, pulsing energy and move it. You stop being a prisoner to desire and start using desire as fuel. This is not a quick fix. It is a daily practice. And it begins with one moment. Not this time. I am not going back. I am not wasting this energy. I am becoming something more. The path is not easy, but it is simple. Control yourself. Pursue a mission. Redirect your energy. These are not just theories. They are weapons, tools, anchors. You will stand taller. Speak clearer. Think sharper. Live stronger. Because when you stop being a slave to impulse, you become a master of direction. And that is what makes a man unbreakable. 4. When you stop, your life levels up. What if everything you have been searching for, confidence, clarity, motivation, peace, is already inside you, just buried under the weight of one destructive habit? When you stop giving your energy away to shallow pleasure, something shifts. At first, it feels strange, uncomfortable, even raw. But stay with it long enough, and you will notice something you have not felt in years: power. And if you have struggled to quit this habit, it is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are fighting a battle most men refuse to face. Really stop, not just as a test, but as a deliberate, sustained decision to take your energy back and redirect it towards something greater. That alone puts you on a different path. Because the truth is, you were never weak. You were just distracted. The greatest victory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. That is Confucius. Now, what happens when you stop? Not just for a day. Because when you stop numbing yourself, you are forced to confront the emptiness you have been avoiding. And from that confrontation, purpose is born. But once you stop, your energy returns. Here is what happens. The ones that require time, sweat, and emotional risk. You start reading again, training with intention, creating, building, connecting. You gain mental clarity. A Navy SEAL, a warrior, and a man who understands the battlefield within. You want freedom? You want peace? It does not come from comfort. It comes from control. Suddenly, your thoughts are sharper. You start demanding more from yourself, not out of pressure, but from a deep desire to become someone you respect. This is transformation. Neural pathways begin to rewire. You create direction. Your brain starts rewarding real effort again, not just artificial stimulation. And in that clarity, you start seeing your life with new eyes, where you are, where you want to go, and what has been holding you back. Your workouts feel stronger. Friends feel this. The world feels this. Your sleep becomes deeper. You stand taller without even noticing. Not arrogance, not false bravado, just certainty. You are not looking for someone to complete you. You are looking to connect, to contribute, to grow together. And it is magnetic. There is a quiet confidence in your presence, not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because you feel aligned with who you are becoming. You disconnect from real people, real emotion, real interaction. Because the will to rise above your own lower nature, to outgrow your own addictions, is the highest act of strength a man can choose. You can focus longer. You build identity. Ideas come quicker. Conversations become richer. You are no longer mentally hijacked by compulsive cravings. It is like wiping the fog off a window. Dopamine resets. You regain energy, not just physically, but spiritually. Excessive self-gratification drains more than just your body. It weakens your spirit. It leaves you feeling numb, disconnected, hollow. You wake up with fire in your chest. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. That is Friedrich Nietzsche, and it cuts deep. You start pursuing what actually matters. Without the constant pull of distraction, you begin to move toward your real goals. You stop settling for cheap highs and start chasing real fulfillment. This is not just productivity, because every time you choose delayed gratification, you are not just moving forward, you are becoming a man who leads himself. Discipline equals freedom. That was Jocko Willink. And here is something most men never realize. Your desire for pleasure was never the problem. The problem was how small your vision had become. Once you stop living under the command of your impulses, your standards rise. You no longer chase approval. You no longer react to emotion. You no longer ask for permission. You move with purpose. Your relationships improve because you become present. One of the silent tragedies of compulsive pleasure-seeking is how it robs you of emotional intimacy. But when you break free, something shifts. You become more grounded. You listen better. You speak with conviction. Women feel this. Presence is rare. You build an inner strength that no one can take from you. This is perhaps the most important change of all. When you know you can control yourself, when you have proven it to yourself, not once, but consistently, you develop a quiet, unshakable strength. The kind of certainty that makes you calm under pressure, focused under chaos, solid in your path, even when no one else understands it. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. That was Mahatma Gandhi, and it applies more today than ever. So, what happens when you stop? You wake up. You rise. You begin living at a level that most men never reach, not because you are better, but because you chose differently. You chose clarity over comfort, discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure. And the man you become in that choice? He is a man you can look in the mirror and respect. He is a man who walks through the world with power, not because he controls others, but because he has mastered himself. That man is already inside you. You do not need to find him. You just need to unleash him. And it all begins the moment you decide, enough is enough. I am ready to level up. 5. The real question. What kind of man do you want to be? Strip away the noise, the opinions, the expectations. Strip away the comfort and the excuses. And face this one question head on. What kind of man do you want to be? Not what kind of job you want, not what kind of car you drive. In the choices you make when no one is around to clap, to judge, or to rescue you. Not how many people know your name, but who are you when no one is watching? Because that is where character lives, not in your appearance, not in your bank account. We live in a world that constantly tells men, follow your feelings, do what makes you happy, chase comfort, chase pleasure, chase ease. But those who chase comfort rarely build anything meaningful, and the pursuit of ease never leads to power. You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. Albert Camus wrote that, and it hits deep, because the modern man is not suffering from lack of access. He is suffering from lack of direction. So again, the question is real and inescapable. What kind of man are you becoming? Let me break it down. Type 1, the pleasure-driven man. This man is reactive. He moves according to cravings, not convictions. He seeks stimulation, not substance. He knows what he wants in the moment, but never what he stands for in the long term. He says yes to anything that feels good right now, but every yes he gives is a silent no to his future. And over time, that future becomes smaller, darker, and emptier. He might seem relaxed on the surface, but deep down, he knows. He is not living, he is avoiding. His confidence is a mask. His joy is temporary, and his potential untouched. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. That was Seneca, a man who understood how quickly life slips through the fingers of those who do not master themselves. Type 2, the principle-driven man. This man is different. He does not need external motivation because he is anchored by internal values. He does not chase comfort. He builds resilience. He is not perfect, but he is consistent. When desires rise, he observes them not with shame, but with strength. When temptations appear, he does not panic. He decides. And when things get hard, which they always do, he does not collapse. He tightens his grip. This man earns his confidence day by day. He walks into a room and does not need attention because his energy speaks for itself. He is trusted. He is respected. And more importantly, he respects himself. Now ask yourself, which one are you becoming? Not which one you want to be. That part is easy. Which one are you training to become through your habits, your choices, your self-talk? Because the truth is simple, and it cannot be bypassed. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. You become what you tolerate. You become what you repeat. So if you are constantly surrendering to impulse, to the easy path, to the voice in your head that says, just once more, you are not failing. You are practicing failure. But if you are fighting, struggling, resisting, even imperfectly, you are building something that cannot be taken from you, a foundation of will. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That is Jim Rohn, and it applies to every area of your life. Not just business, not just health, but manhood. The man you want to be will not emerge from a fantasy. He will be forged in the moments where you choose discipline over desire, where you choose your future over your feelings, where you choose the hard road because it is the one worth walking. That is where masculinity is built, not in dominance over others, but in dominion over self. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. It will cost you your laziness. It will demand your attention. It will ask for consistency when no one is cheering for you. But in return, it will give you something no instant gratification ever could: power, peace, and purpose. So here we are, back at the question that matters most. What kind of man do you want to be? You do not have to answer out loud, but your actions will answer for you. Every choice you make today is casting a vote for the man you are becoming. So choose wisely. And remember, you are not stuck. You are being shaped. The only thing left to decide is by what? By impulse or by intention? That is the choice. That is the fork in the road. And that is the challenge. Your challenge starts today. Every transformation begins with a line in the sand. A moment where you stop negotiating with your weakness and start honoring your potential. That moment can be today if you choose. Here is the challenge. For the next 7 days, completely remove all forms of self-gratification through pornography, masturbation, or sexual fantasy. No shortcuts. Your mind will resist. You will hear the inner voice that says, no excuses. Total control. Not because those things are inherently evil, but because you need to know who you are without them. Most men have never met that version of themselves. You will feel discomfort. Because the moment you start justifying your habits, those habits already own you. This is unnecessary. It is about power. This is too extreme. This does not apply to me. But that is exactly why you must do it. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Plato said that thousands of years ago, and it remains one of the hardest battles any man will ever fight. This is not about perfection. Your brain, your body, and your spirit are waking up. The power to stop being pulled by urges and start acting from intention. Track your progress. And discipline is exactly what this challenge builds. Journal how you feel each day. Notice the shift in energy, the clarity in thought, the way your posture changes when you are not subconsciously ashamed of your choices. You are not just quitting a habit, you are reclaiming a piece of yourself. Confidence, control, strength. The first few days may be chaotic, but that chaos is proof that something real is happening inside you. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That was Jim Rohn, not tomorrow, so take it seriously. You have nothing to lose except the version of yourself that keeps holding you back. And what you gain? Focus. This is your chance to prove to yourself and no one else that you are not a prisoner to pleasure. You are the one who decides what kind of man you become. Begin now. Not when it feels easier. Now,